So welcome to this week's weekly watch list. We're going to start off with the ready to go pairs, the ones that should be ready to enter pretty much from the get-go of the market and open, or a little bit further development into the morning. But as you can see here, we've got 3 pairs on here currently. We're going to go through them top to bottom. First is GBP USD. You see a nice rejection off the edge of that trend line here, but we want to get a better picture, so we want to go back out to the weekly and see what's going on. So you see we have been bullish, pushing out of this descending trend line. We have created higher highs, higher lows, a nice big significant push, respect the break of the trend line, another push up, not a real significant high, and now you can see currently where we are right now. We've had 2 weeks that have really failed to break past this preceding week, and of course we are forming a little mini descending trend line, which looks quite appetizing to take a trade for a short position back down to the 1.36 handle. You can see where these lows had been printed. Just move this out of the way. Where these lows had been printed on the 20th of August of this year. So looks like a real nice trade that you could potentially be getting in short. Again, you would need to be going over your fundamental analysis, and you obviously want to be monitoring the market when it opens to see how big the price is gapping up, how big it's gapping down, and just the general attitude of the price action, because then you're going to be able to get a rough estimation if it's still going to be a good trade. Of course, you have to be looking at the fundamentals, and does it make sense with obviously your trading style and your trading plan. So GBP Aussie, let's go back out to the weekly again. You see we did have that little bullish channel, but now we're starting to break back outside it ever so slightly. We created a nice little inverted double top, a nice engulfing candle, pretty much just matched the lows at the bottom here, and then we've continued to break down further and even down below the bottom of this bottom trend line. So if we go down to the 1 hour, maybe even the 4 hour, see what structure we could see what stories the candlesticks are telling us. So right now all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get something to make sense. I'm trying to line up as many touches. Of course, we always exercise using the wicks, absolutely all the time. You should be using the wicks, and you should be using the first few touch points, significant touch points, and letting that line ride out through the pattern, even if it does go out ever so slightly, only if there's real significant evidence that you should be moving that line because there's been a real significant change. That's the only reason you should be moving that, because if you move it every single time the market peaks out of that, you're going to be skewed in your decision making, because you're going to be looking at false data and you're going to be placing trades based on completely different scenarios to what the market's actually dealing with. So that is again a really key point, especially if you're just watching this video for the first time. Right now we're just trying to make sense of what's fitting, how many touches can we get on each of these trend lines, but ultimately you want to be making sure that you're joining up the wicks. The wicks is the key, but again you can see here we've got many wicks that have been touched, 3 here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then of course you can see price action peaking up above and closing just below this line, acting as an area of resistance, and then of course these 2 closes below the line as well. So it is a real significant area that we should need to be paying attention to, and it holds great weight. And what happens when price action starts to move down like this is we will see that little bit push up, but we need to really understand we've only just broken out of this bottom trend line, so this could act as an area of resistance. So do we really want to be getting buy positions right now? Probably not. Let's just see what we can see on the hourly. Again, we've pushed back up inside the pattern. We might use this as support and then continue up, but let me just go to we could actually see some buyers coming back into an area like this and then maybe drive price action back up. If we go again to the weekly, you can see this was where this week started and really tanked down right on the open. So again, 194 because obviously the market loves these round numbers. I think 194 is an achievable long term target with just the way we're going. But again, we do have this bottom trend line, and every time price action deviates away from these trend lines, it does like to come back in. But again, one thing that is really important to note is when you're dealing with trend lines and you're wanting to know how far to deviate before they come back in, you should always look back at other price action. How far do these touches before it comes back down and touches again? I mean, 2017, say 2017 again, 21st of August, and then we come back down in December 28th. So again, real significant touches. So, and how far away does it typically go? I mean, you can see here from that last touch, we have moved. I mean, if we take a rough, say from the bottom of here, even just to the top of these highs, 4,389 pips. So again, and that's from this bottom touch here. You can see it's in line with this bottom touch. So we could easily hit a target like that, no problem at all. Because sometimes when you look at targets like this, you tend to think, obviously because we're in the weekly, it is a little bit away, and you almost think that's a bit far-fetched. But if you go back to what's actually happened previously, then you can start to add in some other things other than the real intraday, looking at the price structure. You could go back over the long term and start to get a good structure how this chart in particular moves and what type of moves it does, like how much it moves away, how long is it deviating from certain places, and that's ultimately going to be able to give you more confidence when you are putting on your trades. So I do think personally that we will see some buyers coming back up to that 1.94 handle, but again, it's going to be a long-term play. We're on the weekly, and I think this might be the beginning of the turnover, although we have had a real strong bearish, almost engulfing there, and then we've continued to break back down lower. So could this be the push, the pull, and then we crash back down lower, or does this move up, breaking all of these highs here, then find some buyers and then we push up higher? I think, me personally, with the pound going the way it's going recently, I think that we are going to see some more growth, and I do think we will hit that 194 handle. But again, it's not financial advice, and definitely it could come all the way back down here, pull back and then crash right through, and then we're just on a bull run for the next half a year. It absolutely could happen. This just speculation. So Ngd Jpy, again, just the way we've moved up is really sharp, really steep, and we've just had a lot of bullish power. We've not really had a lot of bullish momentum compared to the momentum we've seen recently with these bear candles, but we have had bullish momentum. We've been pushing up, and now we're retesting this high here. We had a real nice rejection in the form of a hammer candle back inside this bearish trend line. So now I do think we might actually come back down, and it might just be a little retracement and then come back up to that 80 handle, but could potentially get a little counter trend trade. But if you're not experienced, then it's definitely not something that you should be looking at anyway, but might be able to get a nice counter trend trade back into that 0.382, which lines up quite nicely. So, but again, it's not something that is really exciting me, it's just something that could particularly be ready. And we're going to now move on to the watch list, and we'll work away from top all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so now we've got that out of the way, let's go from the top all the way down to the bottom. Let's start with Aussie Nzd, and we're on the daily. So again, we're going to be able to see enough on the daily, I think, without having to go back out to the weekly and try and get through this pretty quick. Maybe we do have to go back. Okay, you can see what's happening here. We are just about coming back above this area of support, which is really interesting considering how we've moved down into it. It's been real sheepish after a real big bearish momentum candle. I'm smashing through these lows, and then we've just ever so slowly been moving back down into this level, and I do think now is going to be a real attractive time to get some buyers hopping in the market, especially with the market open. If we could get back above this level where we've had this real nice rejection, again, you always look left, you see this nice push up that's had, I do think we could easily get back up to around about that 1.06 handle, but again, you would have to do a little bit more analysis. I'm just eyeballing it, but it definitely does look a real good trade. And even if you were to do something like this, even just take from the bottom of these lows to the tops of these highs, duplicate it. And I know this is not a real tool that you should be using to accurately judge things, but it does give you a rough guidance to where things could potentially be going. And you could see we might actually go all the way back up to these highs from a push like this. So again, there really is just a few different things that you can be looking at things like this, but I do think buyers will step back into the market, especially if we could get back up above this orange level and outside of this upper trend line. Then we will really start to see an attraction to then push price action higher. So let's move on to Aussie USD. Again, this is a trade that we are not currently in anymore, but you'll be able to see perfectly on the weekly here what we're looking at. We've had a real nice double bottom and a push up, and then we had some nice consolidation, and now we're having that push back down, but we've broken out of this bearish channel, which is a real good sign that we could start to real push through these levels and start attacking highs around about the 0.77 handle, and then maybe even the 0.78, and then maybe even the 0.79, breaking these highs, and then these highs, and then see what price action does. But it does look like we might be able to have the steam to go back up and hit these levels. But again, we're just going to have to go down to the lower time frames and monitor and see what's happening, because right now we have been picking up steam. We've broken out of that trend line. See here, formed a little flag pattern ever since we started pushing up. We've broken out of this pattern now, and we managed to hit 0.745. So now we're seeing a little bit of rejection. If you scroll to the left, you'll see where we're seeing the rejection from in this orange zone. Some nice levels where we have seen price action react nicely before. Here, 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 and here. So now, coming back into these levels, we are seeing a little bit of stalling. Now, what we need to do is make sure that we're aware of how far this is going to pull back. We're never going to be able to guess it at 100%, because the market will literally turn, change in 0.5 of a second. So now that we are starting to see rejection from this orange level, we're going to need to try and work out how far is it going to pull back. We're never going to be able to really guess it and get it accurately, but we can make rough estimations using things like Fibonacci retracements, etc. But if we do take, say, let's try one from here to here, where can we potentially come back to? So the 0.38 looks like a good level to come back to. We've seen respect here, here, and then of course we have this double top here. Of course we have this high here, and then this high here, and then if we go and try and find a level, we'll be able to see one nicely in here, right where that 0.382 fib is. So we'll capture this high here, we've got these highs here, this low, this low, this low, and then now we are starting to push back up. So now we need to figure out how far we're going to pull back, and then once we do see that pull back, then we can maybe look to start taking trades up higher to any one of these zones. But again, you're going to have your own zones, but this is just roughly where I think things are going to progress to as the weeks and months progress. I do think we will start to get price action back up to this area around about the 0.77400. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see what the market gives us. Aussie Swiss. That was a nice trade. We were planning to take a short position. You can see what we had in mind here, but it actually crashed right through. I do think we're going to hit around about that 0.69 handle. We just seem to be steaming up. We've got to pull back eventually. We might actually pull back and keep a level like this. You just pull that over. We might actually come back down into this level, use it as support. Let's just see if, for example, if we were to take a Fibonacci here. So around about that 0.382, just in line with the resistance at this trend line, which will come back down, be retested as support, but again we won't be anywhere near it. If we come back down into this level, I do think it would hold, but again we're just going to have to wait and see what the market's going to give us. It's a real significant area. We had that real nice hammer candle. If we zoom in here, you'll be able to see this real nice hammer candle right inside that zone and then closed just below the trend line. So would have been a perfect entry. It's exactly what we're looking for, and then boom, crashed right back up all the way through, and then just continued to go. The same with Aussie US dollar, what we've just seen. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to be patient, see if we do get the pullback, and see where the pullback comes into. Aussie Cad, again similar setups. I'm not really going to pay attention to this because we've just got so many. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see what price action does in this area. I just want to see, because you can see we are getting squashed. Something I do think a longer term trend is going to break eventually, but right now we're just sort of just moving around side to side, just in this big mess of a zone. And right now I don't really see much potential for any great trades, but we might be able to get something. This is just what we're looking at roughly on the daily and the weekly, and then if we go down to lower time frames, we're just trying to piece together what's going to happen in this area. So right now, not really anything to take action on, it's just something that we're monitoring. GBP Swiss, I really like this trade. Nice flag pattern, and I did think we're going to come back down to the 0.5, nicely in line with this little high here. Come back down to an area like this. It's a nice decent retracement for the bullish momentum that it had, and then just all the way back up to that 1.3 handle, maybe even that 1.31. I do think that's a really nice trade, and it's definitely high of importance. So out of all the trades I've looked at so far, GBP Swiss is definitely one that I'm definitely looking to trade. Again, Euro Aussie, you can see what we're looking at here. We're just trying to find out where is it going to pull back, what area. It might pull back into this zone, I'm suspecting, or looks like we're going to create that real nice double bottom, but we've steamed into this level real heavy, so it's kind of hard to work out where we're going to pull back to. But again, it's real interesting, this area that we're going to be in right now. So I want to see what price action is going to be doing before we then look to take any trades up higher, because we're going to be met with a little bit of resistance. There is good potential though, because we are coming back into the bottom of this trend line. I would like it to come over a little bit, but if we do get that real nice double top, if we see something like that when we have all these candles away and we stop directly, perfectly on the line where we've had this wick here touch exactly, this push up touch exactly, every single touch when it's came to this line has been significant. But what we want to be aware of is this could potentially be a head and shoulders pattern. You can see here this would be the left shoulder, this could be the head, and then I was guessing something like in lines with this line of what could be resistance to the right shoulder, and then you never know, we could crash all the way back through. So again, multiple things that you need to be taking into consideration when you get excited seeing price action coming back down into big levels that you typically see big pushes from, because you know that when that big push comes you're going to be able to get many different trades, but how is it approaching that level? Is there other things that you need to be aware of that might give an indication that it does crack lower and then wipes out all your money, takes out your stop losses, and maybe even dent the ego? So it's just a real interesting place for price action to be coming back down into, and it's definitely something that we want to be watching, but we are aware of course of that head and shoulders. So that's been Euro Aussie, Euro GPY. Again, real nice and simple, like some of the trades that we've been looking at, just a nice and easy long position back up. But again, we're not in this, so would we get in this now? Probably not. I mean, maybe if there was something that presented itself that we could, maybe later on down the line, but right now I'm not really seeing it. But let's have a more closer look. Let's go to the 4 hour, try and make sense of more of these candles. So it does look like we've had a little ascending pennant, sorry. Just trying to make it fit as best possible. You can see that we do have some real significant touches. Maybe even if we took this, because that's probably what you would take, because this wouldn't have even been formed yet. So yeah, that looks pretty much what I'd like to leave it at. And then now we're just starting to see price action break back down. So I do think we could come back down to 129. I do think we could come back down to 129, maybe even 128,800, because this is typically the edge of the trend line that's just been broken. It's the base of the pattern that's just been started, and it's a nice area to then attract some buyers and confirm this breakout. But you never know, we might actually see some buyers come back maybe at an area like this. Price action might stop there, or another area that sticks out is price action might stop here. It's all these different areas. We just need to be making sure we know how the price action is behaving when we hit these levels. There's going to be clear indications whether you know how to find them or not if we're going to break below. Again, the market can be deceitful, and sometimes all the signs are there, like what we just seen on that Aussie CHF, all the signs were there and it just reversed against us. Everything was pretty much perfect from a technical standpoint and it just reversed. But we had actually got in that trade, we got in Aussie USD long, but just by looking at the development of Aussie USD, it had just broken out a bearish trend line, a long term one, a significant one too. Aussie CHF hadn't yet, and then when we see and then we've seen some good bullish momentum in Aussie USD, we actually seen the exact same bullish momentum in Aussie Swiss. So we knew at that point that the Aussie dollar was quite strong, and then of course just with the Aussie US dollar hadn't been already breaking out its pattern, it just made sense to hold on to that, and obviously it paid out pretty well. But we're not still in Aussie USD. We really do wish that we held on to that, but it seems to be progressing pretty well. Right, so Euro USD. So again, we can see price action getting squeezed. We hit that nice 1.17 handle, and then we're pushing back out. Bullish channel, not really much going on in terms of volume, but we are moving up bullishly. So we're just going to wait and see. We formed a nice shooting star candle here. You can see we'd like to see that push down a little bit lower on the wick, but again, still real nice rejection from the level. You can see a double top, two nice big wicks right on that 1.19, sorry. So just wondering what price action does from here. I'd imagine price action comes back down maybe to 1.18, finds some more buyers, and then tries to push back up past 1.19. It does look like it's got room to go to the upside, but again, it's not really been moving too convincingly up. But that might change when we get the pullback. It might attract some more buyers. It has been a real nice area that we have squeezed into, and it has been a real good breakout, so I do think we will hit that 1.21 handle. Euro Swiss, again, this is what we're looking at, nothing too complicated. You just see this bearish trend line. We've got some real stall round about this area here. Nice touch in there, a lot of touches here, and we've closed, touch below, closed just above, and then we've pushed back up to the edge of the trend line. Could be a nice looking sell position, but again, this is not financial advice. I'd like to see price action curve around a little bit, come into an area like this, and then we'd maybe look to start to drop. But again, we're hitting this level, and we're hitting it quite sharp in the form of course, an ascending pennant. So now we're starting to see price action really hot. We might actually get that push back down. We could come back down to the base of price action here, or we might even just come back down to the base at 1.07500, the base of where this pattern started, and it's right at the top of this orange zone that is on the daily. So that's Euro Swiss, CHF JPY. Again, this is what we're looking for here. It's just a little bit messy. We're just waiting for a reaction in this zone. Will we go back up to 1.22, or will we crash back down below? Because if we crash back down below, then we're going to be able to start to look to work our way down and see what levels, and maybe even come back all the way down to, I would say, maybe even 109. We could come back down maybe even to 109 long term. Okay, when did we start this? This was over a year ago now, so over the long term we could start to work our way back down if we do see a rejection, or we could push back up to 1.22 and above. So we're really just going to monitor that and see what it gives us. CAD JPY, getting a little bit messy, but this area is quite interesting. We're just going to wait and see what happens. I mean, there's not really too much happening right now. It's just on the watch list because it's been quite interesting. The moves away have been quite good. It's not really been respecting structure. It's been misbehaving a little bit, but again, we might be able to get a good trade from it eventually. But right now, it's not really something too exciting. Gold's been really good. I mean, without that 1833, we might actually break above and hit that 19 handle, but we need to really break above 1833, get above these two highs, and then we can maybe look to come back and use that support up to that 19 handle. So let's break it down ever so slightly. If we've got on the 4 hour, we've seen that symmetrical triangle. We knew this was right on NFP. We knew this was going to have, or we had a hunch this was going to have a positive impact on gold, because we didn't really like the outlook of the US dollar. The banks said that the longer term we're going to have to start thinning the currency. Basically, they feel that the market has overreacted. When it did have that nice little bullish run, Powell did feel that the market had overreacted and that there would need to be some form of pullback in stimulus and other forms to really try and get that money back. So basically what's happened is we have seen gold push out this symmetrical triangle. We've hit that 1833 mark, and now we want to see that push out, maybe even a retest back into a zone like this, and then we could look to start to take it back up to that 19 handle. So definitely looks achievable, because if you go to the weekly, you'll notice we do have this trend line that started all the way back down here. Okay, we've chosen this low. It's incredibly significant, matched up with this low, which is incredibly significant, which is matched up with this low, which is also incredibly significant. And if we zoom in a little bit, you'll be able to see a little bit more what's going on. So we've pushed all the way back down below, came back close to above, trapped a lot of sellers, mainly me, and then pushed all the way up higher. So now I do think that if we break that 1833 comfortably, and we expect to break, we'll hit that 19 gap and then look to progress higher, maybe even to that, maybe even to 20, maybe even to 21, who knows, and higher. But we'll see what happens. Right now the dollar isn't looking the greatest, and we'll quickly cover that before we go into these last three pairs. So let's just quickly go to, I mean technically we should be using this, but this is what we can see here. We've had that real squeeze of price action, now we're getting another real squeeze, and I thought we were going to come back up into a zone around about that 1.21, but it seems like we've just stopped dead on 1.2. Yep, it seems to have just stopped dead on 1.2, and now we're starting to come back down. I think we'll see a little bit of problem at the bottom of this trend line. Might come back up into that orange zone and come back down, but again, not looking good for the dollar. I do think we're going to have a small little bullish pullback and then roll over again, but we'll see. But ultimately, we're going to be keeping on checking this throughout the week, because every single decision that we make across the market is going to be ultimately based on the US dollar. It's going to have some level of importance in our decision making, whether it be how far we take a trade, whether it be where we put our stop loss, or whether it be where we place our take profit. So let's go to NZD. This is a nice little trade, NZD Swiss. You can see what's happening here, bullish flag, and then it looks like we're going to hit that, let's call it 0.67. I think we'll all hit that. I think we're going to hit it comfortably, so maybe even look to get an intraday trade back up into this zone. If something pops up that makes sense and is going to give us a good risk to reward, then absolutely we're definitely going to be looking for that pullback soon. We've had that nice push up, we've respected the break nicely, and we'll come back down, and then maybe we could see if we could get a nice trade back up into an area like this just before it, maybe even the 0.66500. It just depends on the risk to reward and where we could get our stop loss. But again, potentially could be a nice trade because it has broken significantly and it's been respected. Again, Ngd Jpy, quite interesting. We have had that bullish channel hitting a real significant problem in the form of resistance. See what level we're looking at here. So again, an interesting pair that we're going to be looking at. I don't really have too much else to say on that. We might come back, use this as resistance, use this as support, break through that, retest these highs. We might just hit that, use this as support, use this as resistance, crash back through it, you get a big massive retest here. I mean, there's so many different things. I'm not going to speculate too much because it's a little bit too early for that, but all I know is I'm watching this zone and I want to know where my next problem is if I'm going down lower, and where my next problem is if I'm going up higher. If you ask me, I like maybe going higher, but I think we're going to have that pullback into a zone like this, maybe crash through that, look to retest these highs, but again, we'll just wait and see what the market gives us. I'm not going to speculate too much. All I know is, like I say, I'm watching this zone here. And of course, USD Cad is it. Interesting, we've broken that trend line. Let me just delete some of this. So we've broken that trend line. You can see here we've broken it quite comfortably. I've gone into the 4 hour. I think we're going to get a pullback into this red zone here. You see a little pattern forming, just a little bit. Ever so slightly. Just the way it's moving. Real narrow. Can we find an area of support? Yep, we've got a perfect area of support right here. See these lows, everything perfectly lining up. So that's what we're seeing. We might actually just get that pullback and then continue lower, but I do think we're going to see more bearish price action because we've broken out of this. broken out significantly. We're looking for that pullback now, and I'd be looking to find some more sellers to ride this wave further down. But that's all the pairs that we're currently looking at for this week's watch list. As you can see, quite a few pairs, but obviously we're not going to trade them all. We're going to try and find the best pairs to trade, the best risk to rewards, and obviously we're going to have to deal with whatever the market gives us when it decides to give us it. So what we're going to do is we're going to look to trade a couple of these pairs. We're going to update everybody in the Telegram group, so if you're not already in that, you'll be able to get in them with the link in the descriptions below. Updated analysis on all of these trade ideas and where we think that the market could potentially be going. We do not do signals, we do not give financial advice, we just give safe advice on potential trade ideas, whether they look good, whether they look bad, and also monitoring correct risk management to make sure that you're not over leveraging your account, and to make sure that you are not constantly chasing the markets if you lose, and ultimately just having a more solid frame of mind when you're competing in the markets, because it can be very easily to go down a severe losing streak, be blinded by emotions, chase losses, get angry, think trading's a scam, over trading, and ultimately all these things are going to lead to burnout, which ultimately ends up you losing more money. So if all these different things draining you and you're trying to fight them back, but the more you fight them back, the more powerful they get and the quicker they drain your money. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. So it is absolutely essential that people do get the right proper guidance to go through the trades properly, get the right risk management, make sure they're handling their account properly and professionally. So if you have any comments or if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. We'll love to get back to you. Make sure your analysis is on point, make sure that you're thinking correctly, and making sure that your trades are ones that you should be taking and not ones that you're trying to make fit because you're trying to chase either losses or you don't have the proper guidance or education. So again, leave a comment in the comment section below with any questions, reach out for any help. So the next time we're going to do an updated LTC USD video. That will be live at least Monday or Tuesday, probably Monday, and then the next time we're going to see after that is going to be on the market recap at 7 o'clock. So apart from that, as always, we hope everybody has a profitable trading week, and we'll see you in the chat room.